Okay, in a modern democratic state, we have certain characteristics. So, for example, there's no person like a king or a queen that owns the state. The state is separate. The king's possessions is separated from the state. So in the state, the highest authority is the law. We have a rule of law, and not a person who owns the state, like King Luigi XIV said in France before the revolution, "I am the state." No, in a modern democracy, we've got the rule of law. And also, we've got a separation from the church and the state. So the church is not a part of the state. This means the church cannot make rules for the state. It can influence political voting and political parties like any other actor and participant in a society. But the politicians are not led by spiritual teachings. This is very important because in a democracy, the law comes from the bottom, from the people. It's what the people want. We discuss and we compromise and then we vote and see who's the majority. In a church, the law comes from from God, from above, and we can't discuss it. And we must just have faith and believe. It's not questionable. The spiritual teachings are not elected or voted on. They just are accepted. So very important to keep these separate because it's not democratic if we have the church making the rules for everyone. We can choose to believe in that religion and have faith and believe in those rules. But if we choose that, that's our choice. Then you can't discuss those rules. You must just accept them or choose another religion. So that's very important. And then you have sovereignty of the people, popular sovereignty. This means, and we see it in the first article of the Constitution, the Italian Constitution says, the sovranità appartiene al popolo. And we mean by sovereignty, we mean the power to create our reality, the power to create the reality in which we exist. So the power to make the rules and apply the rules. For example, do we want TAV or no TAV, or do we want more Europe or less, or more equality or more freedom or more better environment or more economic progress? What do we want? That is, and being able to create what we want is sovereignty. Who can make these rules to create that particular philosophy has the sovereignty. We say the sovereignty belongs to the people in a modern democratic society, state. But the people, the act of expressing that sovereignty is in the vote or in creation of political parties, which the people can do. And then they give it to representatives or lend it to representatives to do it on their behalf. But of course they can protest and to refuse to accept our representatives' way of doing things and mobilise against them. So that's an act of sovereignty, because the sovereignty does belong to the people, we say, in a modern democracy. So another characteristic is a constitution. After the French Revolution, we saw the emergence of a constitution where the state is created. It's like a pact, a social pact, or a consensus built from the people on how the state will look, what values it will have, what are the fundamental rules of the state, what are our rights and our duties, the fundamental rights and our duties. For example, in the Italian state, in the Italian constitution, we see that our fundamental duties are protect the patria. So, years ago we had to do military service, but we've always got that duty if necessary, or to pay our taxes, to respect the rules, to have solidarity. These things are written in the constitution. And then we have rights too. And so, other characteristics, we can say the right to vote for the sovereignty, the popular sovereignty, and political pluralism. We see in our political system the freedom to create political philosophy, to start a political party with a specific philosophy and to, push that in society for majority and then take the power of the state. If we get the majority, it's possible to apply that philosophy. But it's very important, this pluralism, this political pluralism. There's a freedom to start a political party in Italy, in the constitution, written in the constitution, by any citizen. And these can be all sorts of different philosophies. But another characteristic is we recognise and protect the fundamental freedoms. So you can't start a political philosophy if it violates fundamental freedoms and rights. For example, the right to protest, or the right to speak your mind, or the right to believe in that religion instead of that religion, etc., etc. So there's these certain rights that we consider fundamental to human beings. They're universal and everyone's got them. And in a modern democracy, one characteristic is the minority is always protected with fundamental, and the majority too. But we can't have a majority that votes for a philosophy that oppresses the rights, the fundamental rights of the minority. Because that would be a tyranny of the majority. So that's considered sacrosanct. And then lastly, in a modern democratic state, there's a social state. So there's certain rights we consider fundamental and so important that people have them because in that way they can continue being part of society. For example, social rights could be to an education, to health. Maybe these are in the constitution, in the Italian constitution. Maybe in ordinary law there's certain rights to housing, to a popular house, etc. So we do think that these rights are important in a modern democratic state because they enable everyone to be included and participating in society. And we see that in Article 3 of the Italian Constitution. There's this creation of the social state where it says, the Republic must remove the obstacles which impede our full growth and our full participation in society in terms of political, economic and social organisation of society. So, these social rights are protected, and that's one of the reasons why Italy has such a big social state, is from this Article 3 in the fundamental principles of the Constitution that says, the state must do this. So it must create a huge infrastructure of schools and health service, etc. The schools, everyone has a right to a minimum standard of education, and you can have boarding students, you can have teachers supporting disabled people. There's lots and lots of resources that must be provided to fulfill this social right that we have.